right, everybody, we are back and we're chilling in Korea with the Borderlands Ripper mask, and it is hot. Hey, everybody, Steve here, the retired hobby tech guy, American expat in Korea, and we're rocking a vanilla hazelnut latte. This is gold. With that being said, we're chilling out here, and again, we're talking about Borderlands. For those of you who don't know, is a video game that has some unique characters in it, and the company that made Borderlands provided a free file for everybody to print out the mask of one of the characters that is in the game, which is brilliant advertising. I mean, this is marketing genius, because you're getting people a free product that probably costs, let's say you hire somebody to do it, maybe 100, 200, maybe let's say $500 to make the mask and model it and pump out an STL. Boom, one and done. That's $500. Throw it up on printables or some other, STL resin printing, FDM printing websites, and provide that for free, and you have a lifetime of free advertising, because people like me and other people, especially people that are into the game, they're pumping these things out, doing some awesome artwork with them. And now what we end up seeing is there are people that are like myself who didn't really know much about the game, but I liked the mask and the fact that it looks really cool. And so I was like, hey, it's free. I'll download it, print it out, see if it works. 16 hours later, boom, I've got me a Ripper mask, going through and starting to paint and bring this thing to fruition. So yeah, this is an awesome opportunity, and I think more companies need to do this, is to allow or provide free products like this, because it generates free advertising for, it far surpasses what you could do with like print or video advertising or something, because you have to pay for time slots, you have to pay for, video creation and so on and so forth. And then really it comes down to, providing a free gift. You're opening up a world of this video game to people that really just don't know anything about it, but they think it looks cool. And again, that's going to appeal to a lot of people. Think of it back in the day. I'm 59, and a lot of people, I remember seeing Star Wars in 1976 or 77, the first Star Wars movie. I mean, there was this huge line, and it was an incredible movie. And from that time, Star Wars had a huge fan base. You had people writing fiction, novels, series. They dress up, which back in the day was dressing up, but today it's called cosplay. And the Star Wars universe just exploded with fan art, models, cosplay, games, scripts, novels, the whole nine yards. And that really propelled Star Wars into a place, because it allowed people to be creative and be part of this universe. Now, there are some companies that are not like Star Wars and not like Borderlands, that what they ended up doing, kind of like Games Workshop, is that you have people that are creating files and sharing them and doing cosplay, and you have some people that are creating like Warhammer files and they're selling them, so they're making some money. But again, that's free advertising. You don't have to do anything. But Games Workshop, what they ended up doing is suing creators and content people that are making props, making masks and helmets and all of these things, and really taking them to court. And it's putting a bad light onto Games Workshop. Whereas Borderlands is embracing this, and they're saying, hey, you can draw more flies to honey than you can't beat them into submission. We're gonna make you like this game, and we're gonna sue you if you steal our intellectual property. And I get the IP stuff, but it really comes to the place of where companies reaching out like Borderlands and providing a free mask, which maybe cost $100, $200 on their end for somebody to make, putting up for free on printables. Now that is free advertising for a ton of people. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Borderlands mask here, and this is what it looks like here on printables. And you could find this And yeah, it's absolutely free. I mean, it's a cool little mask. It took me about 16 hours to print. And with that, I ended up finding another Ripper mask from Galactic Armory that I had to pay for. But look at that mask there. That printed out. And I used, this is the primered version, the one on the left. That's primered with like a few coats of 2-in-1 paint filler. And at a 0.16 layer height, this thing ended up being awesome. The other one's going to come out just as well. It's a little bit more pristine, but I like the damaged look of this Ripper mask, the one in the primer. And yeah, if you're wondering about this, you can actually find this here over here. Where you can find the Ripper mask on printables. And there's a number of people that have gone through and have printed this mask out. And, there's 150 photos of 55 makes. So, that's free advertising. More and more people see this, and more people can print this out and do their own color schemes in whatever variation that they want. And it is just incredible. Matter of fact, there's mine right there, and where it's in the process of being painted. So going through that, but you can see the other ones that people have done. Some people have got multicolor printing with separate heads, and so they can do all the colors printed straight from their machine. And it is just pretty incredible. Again, the color schemes that people do, you can get some ideas on how to paint your mask and what colors. Look at that. That's pretty well in that cell shading or that cell painting technique. Just mix and match, and whatever you want to do, you can end up printing this and really make it your own. You can be as accurate as you want with the lore of the game and copy it exactly, or you can add your own flair and color scheme. It just ends up being a really, really cool mask to print out. And with that being said, just wanted to highlight a little bit of the Ripper mask. And here is the Ripper mask that I have so far. Let's move this out of the way so we can do something more like this. So we can end up seeing we've got some different colors in there. I still have a lot of work to do on the bottom, but you can see that we did we did some line highlighting, edge highlighting, putting some silver on the edges of those things to really define some of the characteristics on there, kind of like what we see on this the faceplate here, and then of course on the front, and then this piece here. We can see that's not the light hitting it. That's actually silver that is painted onto those edges to give, that definition and kind of break up all of that black. And, the cobalt blue, we can see that we got some silver in there. I still have a lot of work to put silver. And then I still have even more to do, because what I'm going to end up doing, kind of like in this plate, these damaged areas here on the edges, I'm going to put kind of a darker color of the tan. And the tan was just tan khaki that I got from a store and painted the mask. So it's not any special paint. It's spray painted, and boom, there you go. I did paint the front with acrylic paints, and the cobalt blue is actually a cobalt blue that was meant for airbrushing, but it kind of knocked it out of the park with the color scheme that we have there. And you can see that it just really, really pops. So yeah, we've got some work to do on the damage. And then the other thing we're going to end up doing is also taking this and kind of like on the shadowed areas, like the underneath here, we're going to try to get a little bit of like maybe a burnt sienna or kind of a little brown tannish action to try to create some shadows and some depths on some of the overhangs on this, which should be really nice. And by the time I get this thing done, this will be hot. I also have to do the respirators in cobalt blue, but we got more work on the bottom, so that's still a WIP, work in progress. So yeah, this is going to turn out really, really nice. And actually, if we take a look at this, yeah, this is going to be hot. So coming up and doing that whole thing, the Ripper mask is coming along nicely. And for something that could be printed out at a layer height of, you could do the 0.02 layer height, but I did 0.16, and the difference is huge in regards to maybe not so much the fit and finish. Well, I mean, it is the fit and finish, but you make your money on the back end because I don't have to do as much post processing as I do with like a zero point 0.2. So yeah, this thing ended up looking hot. And let's make sure I don't drop it. But yeah, it is working out nice. And again, I've got a lot of work to do on this, but again, it is coming out nice. So yeah, I gotta hand it to the people at Borderlands that made this mask and put it out to the public for free. And again, you can find that link in the description box down below, so you can print your own, do your own color scheme. You could hang this up on the wall. You could use it for Halloween or cosplay or whatever. If you want to do something and get into cosplay, yeah, you can't beat it. It's a minimal type of thing. Throw in some raggedy clothes and just carry around a cosplay weapon, rifle, or whatever. Yeah, it is pretty good. 3DHP says, looks nice, great work. Yeah, thank you. It is, everything that I do is I learned off of the interwebs, off of YouTube, and watching countless numbers of videos. So like SKS Props and a number of other creators and content people that are more well versed in painting and color theory and all that stuff. I just kind of copy, and then I kind of learn as I go, because I didn't start painting until a couple of years ago. So miniatures and figures, and now doing this, and hopefully on my bucket list is going to be some cosplay stuff. So this is part of that, and eventually I want to do a big cosplay armor build. Thinking about the Doom Eternal Slayer. I've got the helmet printed out for that. But I also have the other Ripper helmet, which, let me go get that. But with that, I'll show you a little video of the printing of this in time lapse while I go get that. So you enjoy. Yeah, so that printed out. That was actually this Ripper mask right here, and this one has got the this one has got the spikes, which is really cool. You can print this in multiple pieces and put it together, or you can print it out in one piece, and that's what I ended up doing. The total print time on this was 24 hours. So, and guess how much this cost? Just in filament cost, $7.80. So this is, and the fit and finish on this was amazing. I wish they ended up taking this and doing some battle damage on it, but how this turned out was really, really good. And so this is going to turn out to be nice too. Now, what I might end up doing is taking a soldering iron and doing some damage and some pock marks and stuff like that to kind of, because this is just too pristine. But with that, some people have messaged me and emailed me and asked me, how did I size the helmet? And how did I make sure, did I just print this out and it just by chance fit on me? No, it didn't. And that's something that I've been concerned about. When you print out stuff, is it going to fit? So if you go on printables, you can also find stuff like this, these little calipers. And if you look at, what does it say? Cosplay caliper. and you can print this out. And what you can end up doing is taking a couple of measurements, probably about 3 measurements. You should be good to go. Taking the measurement between, your head or maybe even the ears, to where I think that's kind of a good one because it gives you some leeway, and to where your ears, and then you measure the distance between these 2 points, and then you can take that x-axis and you can adjust the model on that axis. And then the other thing you can end up doing is taking the calipers, putting them down and checking the height, depending on, just to say, okay, well, are my eyes going to line up with the holes on the model? So that's, I've seen some people that printed out a helmet, but they didn't measure the head, and so their eyes didn't even line up with the holes on the helmet. That was kind of a while back. 3DHP says we all learn from each other. Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of the deal with that. The other measurement that you can get is from front to back, and you can get that measurement by doing that, and to check the y-axis on your model. And then as you go in your slicer, you can actually manipulate or scale each of those axes a little bit different, either all together at once. So if you scale the whole thing up 150%, the whole thing on all axes gets scaled up, or you can just scale individual axes. So that's what I ended up doing with this, is taking those measurements. And so, for example, I measured from this side here to this side here to make sure, actually it was like this corner to that corner there, to make sure that this would be wide enough, because actually what I ended up, when I printed this out, I forgot to scale it a little bit, and so the distance between here and here was 150 millimeters, and that was too small, so it wouldn't fit on my face. And then a guy who frequents the channel, a guy named Ferrithus, he said, with PLA, what you can end up doing is soaking this in hot water, and then before painting, and PLA is so flexible under hot water. And I was able to get it up to 175 millimeters, so this thing fits perfectly. So, but the good thing about this, kind of like 3DHP says, you remember you need to add foam on the top of your head, obviously, but it is good to point out, because some people I've seen didn't compensate for that, so that's a very good tip. But with that, you're going to have to put a little bit of foam on this top piece here, but this is actually really, really comfortable. So, yeah, you got to do that. 3DHP says, I'm bald, so need foam. I'm not bald, but as I'm older and getting older, I notice there's more hair going down the drain. But kind of like in this area here, you see that's a little rough. I would put some foam there, but for the most part, this thing fit like a glove after doing those measurements. So that's what we end up with. Yeah, and it just fit perfectly. And so, and again, just that little top piece that we have right here, put some foam in there, and I would be good to go. Maybe a little bit on the edges here. And by the time, maybe, I don't know if I need straps or not. I don't think I would need straps, but some foam, and maybe some little pieces of foam right there, because there's kind of a slot. See how there's kind of a slot right along there? And that's for kind of the eyes. This is another 3D printed part on that. Get what hair I have left. This will fit into there. It doesn't fit really good, and even though I tried to bring that in there, I don't know, I might have to play with this some more as far as like molding and trying to get that in, but basically it does something like that. So I'll print out another one of those and try to, put some more. Well, I mean, that could work. But yeah, this could turn out really good. Just kind of glue that in there. There are some parts I think I'll print that again. But, after that, and then put on a little bit of screen material from the back, on the back end side of this, kind of like window screen material in black. You got some repair items, repair window screen that comes in black. Boom, slap that on there and you're good to go. So you can have that screen so you can see out and people can't see in. But this turned out really, really good. And I got a few layer lines on there, but I think what I'll do is I've got two and a half coats of primer on here, so I'm going to take the sander and see if I can get some of those out. But for the rest of it, it just turned out great. And I think by the time I paint this, you won't even notice. It's kind of like the first Ripper mask that will end up being really nice, and you won't notice the layer lines. And that's the one thing I like about the distressed look and the damaged look on props or figures, is that you can hide a lot of the imperfections in 3D printing. So, for example, you can see some layer lines there, but as we go through, we got more on that side. But I think when we go through and we do more damage work on this, and we do some more shading, that what'll end up happening is, it'll kind of hide that. Or we could just kind of, put in some lines along there, some damage lines to hide those. Basically what it comes down to, I was lazy. I just printed this, did 2-in-1 spray can paint filler, 2 coats of that, and I was like, okay, well, that's good enough, good enough for me. So, but I'm really, really pleased with the results that we're getting with this. So I got a lot of more work to do on the bottom as far as the black, and of course the respirators are going to have the cobalt blue on there, and we're going to put some rust color, and I think this is going to turn out really good. So, Lauren, welcome to the show. What sizing did you go with? We were just talking about that, and what I ended up doing was, and just for you, what I ended up doing is just printing out some calipers that I got off of printables. So if you go to Cosplay Calipers, and then just take some measurements from side to side with a little bit of room, and to kind of do like that there, measure the distance, and then you can adjust that x-axis on your model independently of all the other ones. And then you could also do the front to back, and to measure in your slicing software to make sure that, like, the distance from side to side, you'd use the measuring tool from here to here, and to see what is that distance. And then if it's too narrow, then you use that x-axis to pull this out to kind of widen it out, so it'll fit the measurement of your face. And again, the same thing from front to back. You would get a measurement from here to the back, and that would be the y-axis, and you could pull and elongate the model so that you meet the requirements or meet the measurements of your own head. So that's how I ended up sizing that. So long gone are the days of actually printing something out and just hoping that it would fit. It's a good looking helmet. And then the Ripper mask that I'm currently working on, that is coming out awesome as well. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. So as far as sizing, you got to size it to your own specifications. And again, those calipers came in so handy. You can find those on printables. Let me see if we can punch that in and we can find those. So let's see. Cosplay calipers. And there's a couple of different versions. You have the one with Uncle Jesse, which I think is the one that I ended up printing out. Yeah, those are the ones that I ended up using. And again, it's just a simple little print. I printed mine on the K2 Plus. But, the other thing that you could end up doing if, you don't want to print out some calipers, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to do that if you got a 3D printer. But the other thing, you could go really old school. And I'm talking real old school when we're talking about measuring the sides of your head. So basically, what you could end up doing is you could get a couple of books. Do I got a couple of books? Or a box, or do I have books? I have some books, but they're just too big. But let's see what we can end up, see if we can do something. So we got like a book here, and then what you could end up doing is getting some other big object like my drink thing, and then you could put your head in between both of these items, set these on your desk and put it until it touches, and then what you could end up doing is measuring between these two devices and getting, again, the distance from each side of your head with a little bit of wiggle room. You could kind of do the same thing from front to back. That would be kind of weird, but there are different ways to skin a cat. So, whether you do it with calipers or, you try to do circumference. I know there's people that print out models of mannequin heads and then do the measurements and do all that and then scale that to their head size. So when they get a helmet, they can bring in that model of their head and then they can put the helmet on it. And I don't know, it seems to be okay. That is doable. That's another way of doing it, but really, I don't really think that was needed. Lauren says, I printed the same one you colored and it was fine. I haven't printed the one with the halo. Yeah, the Galactic Armory one. That's this baby here, and that's where I really wanted to make sure that I had the dimensions, because even though I could put this into hot water and manipulate it and pull it out, you're gonna, this is going to be a little bit more involved. And if the circumference and diameter of this is not as big as your head, there's nothing really you can do if it's too small. So you really need to get the measurements down and do that manipulation within the software. So, which is pretty easy. And matter of fact, what we can end up doing, kind of show you what we're talking about here. And let's go into Creality Print, the slicing program that I use. It says a new version. I'll wait. I'll wait and see how that comes out, because I don't trust those things when they first come out. So let's see. Recent projects, Ripper mask. Boom. Again, this Ripper mask is awesome. Just that colored mask that I have, and the one from Galactic Armory. Of course, I'm a Patreon member of that. But what you can end up doing, like, let's go ahead and let's keep that over there. We'll do this. We'll make a clone of that. We'll confirm. And I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about on this plate here. As far as, yeah, I know, it's got a lot of edges. So here is our mask. And what I ended up doing is first we're going to rotate this. I wish things would just be, square. Why it's put at a 45-degree angle or whatever. Maybe I did that. I don't know. But basically, we're going to rotate this around like so. And then as we go in here to get the measurement, if we go up to the top and we see this little tool on top here, that's going to be our measurement tool. And so what we can end up doing is taking and put a dot there, run this across, and we get that distance is going to be 175.47 millimeters. So for me, I know that's the size that I need, but I think I can't remember what the original size was, but I needed to expand that out. So what I ended up doing was that measurement there, and then the other measurement was like from here, the back, and then to the front right there, which ended up being 234. So again, you're going to have to go through and use the calipers, and you could take a look at that. When you get your measurements and you say, hey, well, I need to adjust this, that's when we can go to the scaling, and we can go to this different axes, like the x-axis, and you can either do the uniform scaling, but that's going to scale everything at the same percentage all at once. We unclick that, and then now we can go to the x-axis, and basically what you can end up doing is just kind of, doing this and then going back and measuring and finding out, okay, well, that's 233. I've got a big fat head, so I'm good to go on that. So we don't want to go that big. But you can adjust the axes on this either by sliding it and taking your measurement, or you could end up going up here to the scaling and say, well, I want to go 130%, and it will adjust it, and then you could go through, and then again, you could do your measurements and find out, boom, and you'd be good to go. So, and yeah, this was in multiple pieces. It also has everything put together in one piece, so that's how I actually ended up printing this out, like we see here in this orientation. And 24 hours later, boom, had a Ripper mask. So yeah, it comes out really nice. Let's see what else. Let's get back to here and seeing what kind of comments we got. Yeah, the Ripper mask there turns out really good. Really enjoying this. And let's see, we've got Lauren says, I have Armorsmith if I have to scale like your primer coated one. Armorsmith is I've heard about that program, and I don't think is it being supported anymore? Honestly, I don't know. And so that's something that I'm going to take a look at. But kind of the other thing that I'm waiting for is Galactic Armory is doing their version of Armorsmith. And I think Armorsmith only works on Windows computers. Mainly I have a Mac, but I also have I just got a Windows laptop, so I could be able to get Armorsmith and check that out. But that looks definitely a needed tool if you're going to be doing cosplay and things like that. I also ended up getting the Pepakura program because I've seen a lot of people do stuff with the EVA foam and doing some stuff like that. Let me see, LMNOP, PPP. I think I got that on the laptop. So yeah, I think I do. So anyway, the Pepakura is for either paper or cardboard, or you can use it for EVA foam, and you can do patterns and cut those out and then glue those and get your shapes and colors and all that stuff squared away. So recently I've been interested in that because, I don't know, that looks kind of cool, and I'm retired and I got time on my hands, and the foam is lighter. And some of the work that I've seen done on cosplay suits and armors and the whole 9 yards is incredible what they can do with EVA foam. So that's probably another hobby that I'm going to be getting into, but I'm not going to rush into it. But yeah, Armorsmith is, matter of fact, let me look that up and see if it is Armorsmith. We'll take a look and see. Here it is, Armorsmith. So I have taken a look at it. Cosplay software designer. Turn your 3D armor into wish list. Amazing. That's all there is. I want this. Check out Armor Smith. So it's $40, but is it compatible with? What's it compatible with? Armor Smith Garage. Okay, they got a couple Armor Smith templates. Sort tag contains armor price. But it doesn't say, I don't see anything where it says if it's Windows or Mac or whatever. Check out the facts for more information. System requirements. Okay. Yeah, Windows compatible. Plans for Mac? No, not at this time. Do I have to purchase updates separately? Okay. Let's see if we can go to Home. Armor Garage. Somebody was telling me that this software, that they no longer support it, that they're not doing any other updates on this, and I don't know how true that is. Let's check out their blog. Maybe the blog says it. Because the last blog entry was 2021. Wow, that was a minute. Lauren ends up saying you can try the foaming TPU for the more detailed parts to save time over EVA foam. Really? Huh, foaming TPU? Never heard of that. So, yeah, interesting. And yeah, the last stuff on this was in March 2021. 2022 was the last one. Standalone program installed. Update. Wow. Yeah, somebody was telling me that they don't support it anymore. I don't know how true that is, but yeah. But the TPU foam? TPU foam on Amazon. TPU foam. Interesting. So I'm checking out Amazon to take a look on this. And Overture Air PLA filament, pre-foam PLA low density, TPU foam filament. Let's take a look at that, because that is hardness, rebounds. Ooh, interesting. Nozzle temp 210 to 230, print speed 20 to 40 millimeters a second, 25 to 60, cooling fan on, drying at 70 C for 7 hours, 158 degrees for drying at 70 degrees Celsius for 7 hours before use. Oh, interesting. So, wow, I didn't know. I mean, I knew about TPU and I knew you could do like phone cases and stuff like that, but I didn't know. Yeah, that just never occurred to me to use this with cosplay stuff, which is interesting. Well, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for giving me the heads up on that. So how much was that for a roll of that? 22, 23 bucks. That's not too bad. I'm sure I could probably find cheaper. 39. And then we start getting into, 22, 23 seems to be around that. 22, 23, 31, 18, 19, stuff like that. So the price isn't bad. I guess it depends on how much and what you're going to print and how much of that you're going to print. So, but yeah, that's cool. Never thought about TPU being used for cosplay. In doing foam items like that. Cool. Kind of have so many different things Excuse me, so many different things out there, and yeah, it's just so little time and so little money. So we're just going to try to attack this as as we can. But anyway, that's what we got going on. We've been playing around with the 3D printer. I've got the Creality K2 Plus, which has been doing wonderfully. I've been using the side spool holder. Actually, I made a spool holder that goes on the side that replaces the small 1 kilo uh, spool holder, and I made it longer, and so it's a 3 kilo. And that works out pretty good. But then I also recently ordered the Creality stand that has the centerpiece that has bearings, so it rolls really nice. So I'm going to take a look at that and see how that works. But the spool holder, I printed out those helmets and those masks, and boom, it worked out pretty good. So again, yeah, 3D printer, make your own stuff on Tinkercad. Next thing you know, boom, you've got your own 3 kilogram spool holder. And with that, let me show you, because this is actually it right here. And boom. So what I ended up doing, as we can see, is I just found a copy of a nut and bolt. And the person who did this, if you notice these rings on here, the threads, they kind of boogered that up. So it didn't really fit when it got down to there. So what I ended up doing is having to kind of slice that, and I was able to get that to work. So basically what I ended up doing is basically taking a hole and a box, and then, let's see, oops, I didn't want to do that. And then basically just kind of cut out that the bad portion of that, combined both of those, and took out those messed up threads that they had. And then over here, what I ended up doing is just get a couple of cylinders. So basically I took a cylinder, I did that, let's copy and do another one, and just kind of made that a little bit bigger, did something like that. Copied that, brought that up like so, and then we just kind of select everything there, and we'll line all this up, and basically kind of something like that. Well, that top piece that's all jacked up, isn't it? You want something like this, and bring that up like so. So we have that, and then basically what I ended up doing is, okay, we will take this, we'll group all that together, and then with our model here, what I ended up doing is basically doing the same thing, taking like a shape, and then just having that. So we combine all of those, and then we're left with just the part there, and just kind of bring that up, and then I size that to the hole that I had for the hole on the bracket on the K2 Plus, and again just kind of go through and line everything up like that. And of course then I would have to go through and make this bigger. So it was kind of like that. And of course I had to size up the nut as well at the same time that I did the thread on there. So basically it's kind of like that. And then yeah, it ended up, as you can see here, we did some pretty thick walls on that, and it works out great. So yeah, so just kind of a little bit of a sidetrack down the rabbit hole. And so again, I took off the stock 1 kilo side spool holder, the plastic portion, threw this part on that I printed in PLA at 40% infill gyroid with 4 walls, and that thing is solid. And so that 3 kilo spool has been hanging on there for a couple of days. I printed out the couple of helmets, The only thing I ended up doing is kind of moving the little metal piece with the receptacle that goes to your PTF tube that goes to the printer. I had to kind of bend that up because with the larger spool, I wasn't able to get anything a little bit different. But yeah, it ends up, it worked out pretty good. So again, the Ripper mask is turning out pretty good. So that ended up awesome. And again, printing this stuff out like this just end up rocking it. So you can find that on printables and you can print your own and it turns out really cool. So yeah, we got a Ripper mask and do some more painting and finish up. That's going to turn out to be a great print. So anyway, with that being said, we had some good times. That was a 16-hour print. And then again, we did this one here from Galactic Armory. And that was a 24-hour print. And that came out pretty nice as well. So if you want that one, you got to be a Patreon of Galactic Armory, which is $15 a month. It seemed to work out pretty good. And then, yeah, we're just kind of having fun here in Korea, chilling with the 3D printer, printing out masks, painting, having some fun. And if you want to keep abreast of this and other stuff, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and leave you all. And if you want to contact me, there's the email. If you just say hi or whatever it is, I always answer my emails. These people over here, they bought me coffee. If you do, that's fine. If you don't, that's cool. The best thing that you can end up doing is liking the video and subscribing to the channel. So anyway, we're going to call it good. I'm going to finish up my latte, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. Yeah, good stuff on that mask.